What do archaeologists study? We get that question all the time. Many people think that we study dinosaurs. However, we do not. We look the same. We're in the dirt. We have our hats on. We're digging up bones. However, archaeologists only study what humans have left behind. What today's archaeologists study? We actually have a garbologist. His name is Bill Roche. He actually excavates garbage going back 100 years to see changes in newspapers and plastics and bottles. When we're looking at the archaeological evidence, we look for technology. What kind of technology were the people that were looking at their material culture? What were they using? We look at social organization. Can we see that in the archaeological record? Or any type of religious beliefs, and then overall looking at material culture. Archaeologists and historians divide the span of human existence into prehistoric and historic. 99% of human history, we have been hunters and gatherers. So for 1% of human history, we have the appearance of written records. And this is where we see archaeological remains in Mesopotamia, in northern India, in northern China, the Maya. This is where we see evidence of the written record. Examples of prehistoric sites. Prehistoric sites are archaeological locations where evidence of human activity predates written records. So this is the first evidence where we see domestication, prehistoric monuments, cave paintings, and rock art sites. So I'm going to show you some examples. So this is Göbekli Tepe. It's located in Turkey. This is one of the first sites that we see evidence of domestication of wheat. It's going back, we're thinking 13 or 14,000 years ago. This is a site, it's called Gila Nagits. This is located in Oaxaca. This site shows evidence of the domestication of teosinte, which is the ancestor of corn. And that goes back probably about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Then we have monuments, historic monuments. Here we have Stonehenge, and this dates back 4,500 years ago. Then, of course, you have rock paintings. This is Altamira in Spain, and this goes back thousands. Probably, I think I have the exact date here, about 22,000 years ago. Pre-contact prehistoric sites in North America. I'm going to shift, and now we're going to look at sites that we actually see here in the United States, in the Canadian area, and we'll concentrate on those areas. So in the Americas, what you have is you have people arriving in the Americas around 20 to 15,000 years ago. Big question we get, how did they get here? Right? And we have different hypotheses. Did they come across the Pacific Ocean? Did they come from the east? Did they go through an ice corridor? Did they come along the coast? So these people were looking at archaic period that starts around 13,000 years ago. And then we also are looking at early agricultural and late prehistoric sites as well. What I want to do is actually before I do that, I want to show you, this is Beringia, a map of eastern Russia and Alaska. That is in light brown. And this shows us how low the water was about 13,000 years ago. And because the water was low, this is the hypothesis that people walked across a land bridge. And so, did they walk across the land bridge, or did they come along the coast down into the Americas? This is the big question. I did want to share with you some research that I did here in San Diego. We're located in San Diego. This is excavating pre-contact sites dating from 9,000 years ago to 250 years ago. Our job was to select 9 different sites, and if I don't have that, 9 different sites throughout San Elijo Lagoon. What we wanted to do is we wanted to look at sites that went back 9,000 years ago, 7, 5, 3, and 250 years ago. And we wanted to see how things were changing with these pre-contact populations. And how we were doing it is we're looking at the shellfish that they were procuring, and they're opening them up and they were getting the protein out. But through the years, they changed what they were eating. They started with Mytilus and they ended up with another type of shellfish that they were eating. Was it that they just woke up one day and said, I can't eat another one of these Mytilus and I need to eat this? Or was the environment changing? These other archaeologists are doing this type of research as well along different lagoons to see how people are living in those particular areas. These are just some of the pictures. This is the principal archaeologist that I was working with, and we had UCSD students. And this is how far down we were going. Later on, we'll talk about different kinds of sites. This is a prehistoric site. We're very interested in the chronology, or we're looking at time. So the further you go down into these units, the later, or I mean, yeah, the older it gets. So we're very interested in those different time periods. If you're doing a historical archaeology site, it's basically a snapshot of one time period. So it's going to be more of a vertical type of excavation. Or I'm sorry, a horizontal excavation. This is a vertical excavation. Examples of text-aided archaeologists who study ancient civilizations. So we're going from the Americas and we're going back to different countries. So Assyriologists, they're very interested in studying anything that has to do with Mesopotamia. Egyptologists, all right, anything that has to do with Egypt. Mayanist with the Maya, and Sinologists, those are Chinese civilizations. Oops, excuse me. Text-dated archaeologists who focus on single societies. We have classical archaeologists. They're very interested in Greece and Rome. And when you think about archaeology, a lot of times you think about archaeologists digging in Greece or in Roman ruins or Pompeii. We have medieval archaeologists. They look at abbeys or ruined churches, residential settlements. And so both of these concentrate on architecture and changing art styles. Now I'm going to shift again. So many parts of the world entered written history with the arrival of European explorers. I'm going to start talking about historical archaeology, but before I do that, I'm going to talk about pre-contacted versus early post-contact and then historical. So differences between these type of sites. And we especially practice this here in the United States. So we have pre-contact, which we used to call prehistoric. And these are Native Americans, or Native American sites with no evidence of foreign contact. Then we have early post-contact. So you have early people from the outside coming in, and you have Native Americans sites with evidence of foreign contact as well as having historical records. Then we have historic sites and the archaeology of the spread of Europeans throughout the world since the 15th century and their impact on indigenous people. This is, I put James Dietz here, very, very famous historical archaeologist. So, historical archaeology is the archaeology of the more recent past. So, all the people who built the modern world. It wasn't just the people who had money. What we're interested in, the people that actually did the work. These are the people that aren't written about. So, you have European colonists, African American slaves, Native American fur traders, Chinese railroad laborers, early Australian convicts. So historical archaeology, I'm going to read this here, examines both sides of the social fence, the rich and the poor, the literate and the non-literate. I actually had the opportunity to excavate in Jamaica right after I graduated from college. And it was the site of a plantation, but what we were excavating were the slave quarters. Everything had been written about the people who owned that plantation, but nobody had written about the people who actually worked that plantation. So I have here found 60 possible slave residents located between the estate. What this is doing is it's giving a voice to the voiceless, the people, the majority of the people that were on that site doing the work. And these are just some images of the actual Drax Hall and where it was located in Jamaica. So historical archaeology, and I will say I'm a historical archaeologist. I think it's very important to give a voice to the voiceless, and that's what this type of archaeology allows us to do. So then, what do archaeologists study? Archaeologists study the remains of what past human societies left behind. They strive to understand the history, culture, and lifestyle by analyzing material remains. They take the collected data to reconstruct the past, including social structure, technology, trade, belief systems, and so much more. They play a crucial role in shedding light on our past. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.